And the more he hurt me, the more I wanted to hurt him back. The more he hurt me, the better it felt. The more powerful I felt, the more he hit me.
You're very convincing. You're so good though, right? It's almost like I feel like you can rationalize anything.
Recently, Andrew Tate had an interview with a psychologist, and his channel is going to be down in the description if you want to check it out. And the interview was 2 hours long, and in this video I compiled small clips out of that whole interview where Andrew Tate shocked or just straight up amazed the psychologist because of his very crazy views. And honestly, I find these clips to be one of the most interesting parts of the whole interview, and you will probably as well. Because if you want to learn about Andrew Tate's The Real World, be sure to check out the first link in the description to join an exclusive Telegram group, because I bet you won't regret it. But yeah guys, leave a like on the video and subscribe with notifications so you don't miss the latest updates. But yeah, take a look at this. This was interesting.
I don't feel like I had time to feel pain, or I didn't feel like I had time to be a victim.
You had nothing but time.
No, I didn't have time.
What are you talking about?
Because everyone outside still relied on me. So when I would get on the phone, people would
Is that avoidance though?
I don't know.
Do you keep busy? Do you avoid your feelings by keeping busy? Being on the computer all the time?
All the things I had to do still had to be done. Just because they threw me in a cell, it just made it more difficult, which means I have less time than ever because the difficulty's been increased. And when I would get on the phone, we wouldn't discuss how I'm feeling. I'd be worried about how everyone else is. They'd be like, how are you? Yeah, I'm in jail. What's going on with this? Are you okay? Are your bills paid? Are press hassling you? I was worried about fixing everyone else's problems from jail more than I was concerned about myself or my own mental well-being. And if I felt particularly, when I say pain, is an awkward one. I don't know if I felt pain because I don't feel sorry for myself, and I've developed this mindset of such absolute accountability that even though what happened to me I believe was unfair, and even though I'm completely innocent, I didn't think why. I didn't think, why is this happening? I didn't think, why me? I didn't think, oh, this is unfair. Like, none of these things crossed my mind. I was like, this is garbage. However, you can't become the most Googled man in the world without with every light has a dark, right? Like, let's be realistic about this.
Yeah.
I'm thrown in a jail cell. Do I belong here? No. But am I here? Yes. I was pretty logical about it. And I was like, okay, I've got a lot of things I need to get done. And I would feel angry if I couldn't get them done. I don't think I felt pain. Now, I'll admit, I don't sleep very well since I've left.
Why?
I can admit
Do you
that.
know why? I heard you say in one interview that you have nightmares.
I do have nightmares. Yeah.
What are your nightmares about?
I don't think they're about anything. I just have almost like an adrenaline rush out of nowhere while I'm sleeping, and I shoot up. I bolt awake.
No thoughts, no memories, no
visions. Real thoughts, no real story.
Fear. That's fear.
I guess it is. Yeah.
So so let's just, your unconscious. The dreams are a reflection of the unconscious, and if you're having nightmares, there must be some unresolved fear that wants to get worked out.
I believe so, but then also I love the idea of that.
Of
having unresolved fear. That sounds like the most interesting thing in the world. If someone were to say to me, Andrew, take this pill and your unresolved fear will vanish, I would say absolutely and utterly not. That's not fun. The fun is there's something in my mind which I don't have complete control or complete understanding of yet, and it's not detrimenting my day-to-day life really. Okay, I lose a bit of sleep, but this sounds like an interesting journey. It sounds like I'm in a new level of the video game and I've been thrust into a dark forest and I get to do something brand new, and I'm really genuinely not worried about it.
You're not you shouldn't be worried about it. It's just where you are.
I'm not worried about it, and I'm also not like, oh, I need to fix this. I don't care. I'll have nightmares and I'll wake up and I'll either go back to sleep or I'll continue to work, and that's life.
Maybe life will keep giving you situations in which you'll have to confront that fear to resolve it.
Why would I want to resolve it?
Well, because
I mean, if I'm really that tired, I'll sleep.
No, but fear creates distortions in our mind, right? I mean, fear is the seed of evil.
Yeah.
Right? And so we want to know what we're afraid of, because if we block our fear, we're susceptible to bad actions, right? And fooling ourselves about what they are, rationalizing.
Yeah.
So I would argue that it's actually vital for you in the position that you are in and the responsibility that you have to actually confront your fear in a very real way, which probably goes back to your childhood. I mean, your dad was, the haircut story, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, if you're willing, but that's it. When I read that, I'm thinking about that little boy. It must have been fucking terrifying.
It is, but I do think I had the best father on earth.
I'm not disputing that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good that came from your father. I'm not disputing that your father was a good man. Yeah. When you say he could go from 0 to 100 like that for a little boy,
It's scary.
It's fucking scary.
It is. But
And that fear has to be in you. You don't know what the fuck he's going to do.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But I think that's prepared me for life fantastically. And I also think the fear.
But have you reached a limit? Have
tolerance?
you, well, of the video game? I mean, you're facing all these charges, right? So something, and maybe this is what you need to go through. I mean, you're on the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Right? And this is inevitable in some way. But also along the hero's journey, you have to die to be reborn.
That's true. And I agree with all of that. But if I'm genuinely, I psychoanalyze myself all the time, which is one of the main reasons I don't believe in therapy and psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalyze yourself.
Of course you can. I do it myself.
You don't think that's hubris?
No.
You can know your own mind, that you don't need reflection from others to see yourself, that you can see yourself perfectly?
I think that, no, I don't think I can see myself perfectly, but I think that life is a perfect reflection.
But why not get help? Why not?
Because then it becomes a crutch. I like the idea that I can rely on myself to fix myself.
Well, you have a coach. Is that a crutch?
No, it's not, because he's teaching me something.
What's the difference?
That's fine, but if I had an affliction, I would like to be my own doctor. And I think with your mind, you can do a lot of it yourself. And I think if you have a very strict framework in how you measure how successful you are as a human, and I do it through competence and achievement, I say, which mindset do I need to achieve as much as I can possibly achieve?
Right.
And I can measure that in real time. I can measure that in literally dollars and world championship title belts. I can literally measure the success. Mm-hmm. I'll say, okay, well then this is the mindset I need to have to be as successful as possible. Anything that's deviating me away from that needs to be addressed and concerned and dealt with, and I can do that myself. And I think the fear that, if it's fear that's waking me up from nightmares now, it's just because I understand there's a very big apparatus, a very big enemy, which I cannot destroy and I cannot beat, coming to get me. Mm-hmm. So I do think that wakes me up. I think the fear is healthy. I think I'd be stupid to not be afraid. But I don't necessarily want the fear to go away because I have no problems feeling bad.
Well, it's not about going away. It's coming into deeper relationship with it and understanding that there's fear that's happening in real time, but there's also fear that may be in your psyche somewhere, in your body, that's connected to your history. And that may need to be resolved because otherwise you're projecting things out that you may not be seeing reality totally clearly. That's the thing, right? Is there a way that you're not seeing things perfectly clearly?
Well, then we go back to what I just said about perhaps that's true, but if I measure myself purely on competence and purely on achievement, whatever I think and whatever I'm doing is obviously fantastic. So I'm very happy with the mindset I have. And then we go into the argument, which is a level deeper, is am I supposed to be happy? Am I supposed to feel good?
No, it's not happy.
No, of course, but this is what I don't understand about people, especially men in the world today. Why are they so worried about being afraid? Why are they so worried about, I was afraid every time I fought.
Yeah.
I fought anyway.
Yeah.
I don't let fear guide what I'm going to do. I do what I'm supposed to do regardless of how I feel. So I don't see anything wrong with feeling fearful. I don't see anything wrong with feeling stressed or under pressure or anxious. All these things men are trying to get rid of. And I talk about men specifically. I gender this because I'm a man. I don't know how it feels to be a woman. But all these things that people are trying very hard to get rid of from their brains, I don't see why they need to leave. I will argue the point that if I feel anxious and pressured and stressed and fearful, I will get more done than if I was happy. I think if I was happy, I'd just be hedonistic and just wasting my time. I think that you get a whole bunch done with these negative connotations and negative emotions, and I think that life is suffering and pain, and you're here to go through it, and the sooner you get used to the taste, the more successful you're going to be. I have no interest in trying to change the flavor, my friend. The flavor of life is pain, and I will eat all of it, and it doesn't matter if they put me back in jail or not. I'm not sitting there going, how can I be happy in jail? I will sit in jail and say, yes, this sucks, it's supposed to suck. Yes, I'm not enjoying this. Yes, I'm anxious and paranoid. And yes, that guy might stab me. And yes, I can't sleep and I miss my family. And this is what's supposed to happen to me. And this is how I become the best man I can possibly be. And I'm going to succeed regardless.
You're very convincing. You're so good though, right? It's almost like I feel like you can rationalize anything, right? It's almost like a trick.
Magic trick?
Well, you're really good at talking, you're really smart, and it's almost like any question you can turn and make it work for you, which is great. It's a skill, but there's also a place where there's the potential for self-delusion.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not even going to sit here and say that I'm not delusional to a degree. I'm not saying that self-delusion doesn't exist. We all are, right? Let me give you a very simple example. Let me try and use an analogy. I think the only thing better than having everything you want is not wanting anything, right? So I have every car on this planet. I have 40 supercars. Most people want a supercar. I have 40. But there's that unique 0.1% of people who genuinely don't want one. And I think that's more freeing than having everything you want, right? So the true mindset is not wanting anything. Most people, the best they can do is having everything they want. And I feel like you can kind of do this with the emotions as well. I guess my general consensus is that I don't think I can change or affect the world to the point where pain and suffering and bad things are not going to happen. So isn't it best if I just enjoy all of that? Doesn't that make me as powerful as possible if I say, oh yeah, okay, this is gonna suck, good. I mean, I do it when I fight. Yesterday I was fighting, right? We were doing 12 rounds and all of us were destroyed. And the more he hurt me, the more I wanted to hurt him back. The more he hurt me, the better it felt. The more powerful I felt, the more he hit me. Because then it's my turn, right? So if I can't stop him from punching me, and I'll do my best, but if I can't, then surely you should learn to enjoy it, right? And I don't think you can stop life from hitting you. And I don't think you can stop life from giving you unexpected surprises. And I don't think you can stop yourself from feeling sometimes sad or anxious or upset. So I think the best mindset you could adopt is finding that engaging and exciting. I'm not going to lie to you. Although I am facing very serious charges, and although they are trying to destroy my life, and although I cannot sleep the same, and although they're out to get me, and although I've suffered, part of me is excited. Part of me is like, okay.
Why?
Because it's a war.
You like war?
I think all men do.
I do.
Yeah, of course. All men do. Yeah. So it's a battle.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I'm not saying I'm glad it happened, because I'm certainly not. And I'm not saying I'm going to win, but I'm saying that I've trained myself to the point where if I were walking down the street and 10 men were to pull knives on me, I'd be intimidated, but 20% of me would go, this will be one to remember.
Do you have a belief that you could take 10 men with knives?
I have a belief that, yeah, I do. Because
that's
delusional.
That's delusional.
Yeah, but it gives me a best chance of possibly winning.
Well, no, running away would give you the best chance of possibly winning,
then
coming back and being safe, and then serving out your mission.
Of course, I would run away in that scenario. But if I had to engage them, if I had to engage them,
right.
If I had to fight them, I believe I'd be the most capable if I believed I could win.
Of course.
So for that reason, if I have to self-delude, then I will self-delude, and I will convince myself that I am here to destroy all 10 of them. And I will say it in a way where at least 7 of them believe me. And that's the most important part sometimes about all of this self-delusion, is that a lot of other people start to believe what you say. And I'm not saying that I say bad things. If a man were to sit in front of you and say, I can rip your head off with my little finger, and he said it in the right terms, and he truly believed it in his heart, you wouldn't want him to try. As ridiculous as that sounds, you'd be like, he's kind of big, maybe. You know, it crosses your mind. So I think that, yeah, I have psychoanalyzed myself, even though I'm not officially, certified. And I've decided that I can't stop bad things from happening to me. So instead, I'm going to enjoy bad things happening to me. And I'm going to build a mindset that makes me fearsome enough to succeed regardless of how stacked the odds are against me.
Yeah, and I appreciate your mindset, and it's well thought out, and it's useful to you. And so I'm just pushing up against the places where I think there might be contradictions.
I like to hear it.
Yeah.
I like to hear it, but like I said right now, I'm not a coward. And I want to make this very clear. I'm not a coward. I don't care if I don't sleep again for the rest of my life. I refuse to take any fucking pill, and I refuse to sit and have my mind altered by anything I do not control. I don't care if I have nightmares for the rest of human time.
Right.
As long as I'm in charge of my mind, I'm in charge of my life. If God decides that I don't need nightmares anymore, I'll fathom out how to stop it. If God decides I need to wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat, fearful or afraid they're coming to get me, then that's God's plan for me, and that's what I'm going to deal with. I'm not a coward. I'm not afraid of any of these things. I'm not afraid of feeling bad. I'm not afraid of anxiety. I'm not afraid of panic. This is one of the things I think a lot of men out there struggle with, is they're so worried and afraid of bad feelings. And to me, that's just showing that you've had an easy life. Like, there's real people out here who are trying to kill you. There's people out here who put a knife in your neck. You're scared of what? Feeling sad? Like, there's real problems. What are you worried about feeling sad for? Who gives a shit? I could feel sad for the rest of my life, and I guarantee, 1, nobody would know, and 2, I would be monumentally successful regardless. So why are we even talking about it? I have no fear for a negative feeling. I have fear for me not being able to provide for my children. I have fear for people who rely on me not being provided for and cared for. But I don't wake up and go, I'm worried if I might feel sad today. Who cares? Who cares? I can be happy or sad on the same day. Nobody notices, and the same things get done. Exact same amount of work gets done. Nothing changes.
How are you making sense of what's happening to you? Is it God's will? Is it a co-creation? In some way, did you co-create this?
Oh, no.
Or are you just like a victim of the Matrix?
No, I'm not a victim. So absolutely everything is, I believe.
In some way you're a victim.
Completely, but I believe in self-accountability.
Sure.
I could have prevented this.
Well, how did you co-create this? If let's presuppose you did.
I created this by being monumentally successful.
Right.
There's no light without dark. Equal and opposite force.
But you said you were excited about it, so maybe there's some way you actually wanted this.
I didn't want this. In fact, I had conversations with Tristan for a long time, and I kept saying Icarus to him. When I would decline certain podcasts, I would decline meeting certain famous people, I would decline talking about politics, I would decline things, and I would keep saying Icarus. And he would say, why are you doing this? And I just reply, Icarus. Because I knew if I got too big that they were going to come for me. I knew that. So I tried to balance it, and I felt like I did a pretty good job, but unfortunately I got it a little bit wrong. My fault. I got it wrong. I put myself here. But I also don't believe that there's any light without dark. It's yin and yang for a reason. I don't think that I can just become the most Googled man on the planet and become monumentally successful and make hundreds of millions of dollars and nothing bad's going to come from it. I think that would be hubris. You just used the word hubris, it's a fantastic word. I think it would be stupid for me to sit there and go, I should be able to do all of this good and have a fantastic life and there's going to be no repercussion in any form. I knew this was coming to the point where I literally sat with Tristan about 3 weeks before it happened and said, we're fucked.
So why did it happen?
It happened because I became monumentally successful and I became monumentally influential and the world is a battle.
You did create it. In some way you co-created it. Like you knew this was going to happen. And so there may be some way unconsciously you wanted it to happen. Like if you're on this hero's journey and you're living this big life and you have a big vision for yourself. I mean, you bring up guys like Genghis Khan, and I think that's kind of appropriate because in another era you probably would have been one of those cats, right? So now we're here. And maybe you need this in some way, need this test to really feel yourself, to know how strong you actually are. I mean,
I know what you're saying. I don't think I need the test. I do feel like I need to tell the truth. I do feel like
What's the truth?
The truth is,
the truth about the Matrix?
yeah, what I believe. And I do believe that I have a responsibility because of my massive platform.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the responsibility is for me to do my best to educate people in a way that's going to make them happy. And I know I could have sold my soul 1,000 times, and I know I could have avoided this, and I know I could have not said certain things, and I understand all of that. I wasn't looking for a war this large. I wouldn't say I was looking for it, but I wasn't ignorant to the fact that it might happen, and I wasn't afraid.
You didn't do anything to avoid it, though.
I did a lot to avoid
you
it.
did.
Icarus. I must have said it 1,000 times.
Right.
I could have made it much worse.
Yeah.
But I was never afraid of it happening. I think there's a difference between knowing something bad might happen and taking the calculated risk and going, this is my journey for truth and this is what I believe is what I should do, and being afraid of something. Like, I understand if I go into the ring, I might lose. But I do believe 93% chance I'm going to destroy him.
Well, and you want the fight either way.
I guess so, because how else do you matter, right?
That's my point.
And I'm not saying that I'm glad I'm being persecuted for false human trafficking inside of Romania. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that...
Yet, on the other side of this, how strong will you be? Stronger than you could be otherwise, that's
Completely.
for sure, and have more power and influence otherwise.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the Nelson Mandela.
Completely. And
Now, I wouldn't want to spend fucking whatever amount of time in jail. That sounds fucking scary, but it's not uncommon for heroes.
Well, exactly. And if you take the lessons from it, and if we want to once again talk about being as formidable as possible, then I don't think jail, okay, it's given me nightmares, but I don't think it's made me weaker.
No.
And it could have easily made me weaker. I could have gone through the exact same experience with a different mental model and emerged weaker. I believe I've emerged stronger, regardless of the fact that I have nightmares. I didn't have nightmares before, now I do, but I still see myself as a stronger person. That's one more thing I no longer have to fear from an unknown perspective. I know exactly what it's like. I know the best ways to deal with it, which I developed within the 3 months. And if they put me back, I know what I'm going into. So that's an unknown area of the map explored.
Yes.
And I don't want to go, but I do believe that I'm more powerful than ever. And you have to find the good in it. That's absolutely not for sure. But I don't think I want to be very careful. I don't think I was looking for this fight. I'm finding the good in this fight. I believe that my fight actually has far-reaching repercussions for society now. I think that however this plays out is going to affect society in real time. I wasn't looking for it, but I was never...
Did you attract it in some way?
Well, if you are a force for good, then the evil is going to attack you, isn't it? And I do genuinely believe this is the battle of good versus evil in the world today. I believe that truth is always going to be on the side of good. I am religious. I believe the things I say most people knew were true only 10 to 15 years ago. I don't think they're radical ideas. And I think that there is an evil force in the world which is extremely deceptive, and they are out to try and silence me, not because what I say is wrong. It's in fact because what I say is right. I believe the reason I have so much influence and the reason so many young boys listen to me and pay attention to me is because I say things that are true, that they know intrinsically, evolutionarily, inside of their bones as true. That I say things which work. People often wonder why my fan base is so feverish, why my fan base is so dedicated. Well, if they listen to me, it's the first time they ever feel good. The first time they ever train hard and start to feel better physically, and they start to feel better mentally, and they adopt my mental model, and now they're not stressed or depressed anymore, and then they may start to make some money, and they go, you know what, I started listening to Tate a year ago. I'm in the best shape financially, the best shape physically, the best shape mentally. Tate's the man. So they're hyper dedicated to me. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a negative to that. I want to make something clear. I've been brutally aware of the fact that all of this might blow up in my face for a very long time. I've not been ignorant to that. And I think that's why jail didn't cause me pain. Because I wasn't in jail like, how did this happen? I was in jail thinking, they got me. I knew it. They've been after me for a long time. I knew they were coming.
Is there darkness in you? I mean, there must be.
There's darkness inside of everybody.
Right. And do you know that part of you? Are you in relationship with it? Do you think about it?
That's a good question. First, I have to identify what would the darkness in me be.
Well, let me present something to you, because I stood up for you after you got canceled off social media, and I have a lot of female clients, and they had questions about that. I mean, they know me and they trust me, so they're curious. But one of them said, "Well, you know, Andrew he's out there saying that he's helping all these young men, but in the beginning, he made his millions in some level exploiting these very men." Okay. That's the frame that they were thinking about it. And is there validity in that, in what they're saying? Because I didn't know how to answer that question.
I don't think I exploited the men. I think maybe I did exploit the men, but let me change my answer. I don't think me not exploiting them would have prevented them being exploited. I think these men were out to be exploited regardless of whether I did it or not.
But you can see how that sounds cynical to somebody, where you say, well, they're going to be exploited anyway, so I'm going to make money off them. And then once I make money off them and I get this platform, then I'm going to champion them.
Completely. I mean, I guess that's probably one of the most logical arguments against me I've heard. Then we have to argue whether I was really exploiting them, which is another argument, right? Absolutely. Because a lot of these men, the only reason they didn't kill themselves is because they had an online girlfriend. Sure. So I actually think that webcamming and girls as a whole is closer to therapy than it is porn. Truly, these men are completely miserable, and the only joy they have is logging into that web. So I don't think I did exploit them. The reason I said the fact they were going to be exploited anyway, it's very similar to having an alcohol store. Let's say there's 3 alcohol stores in a row, and all of your customers are alcoholics. Well, if you close your alcohol store, what happens? They just buy at the next store next door. Right. They're still going to be an alcoholic. You're not saving anyone's life. Right. But I don't think I necessarily exploited. I didn't see myself as exploiting them or exploiting the girls. I don't think that. I think it was a business opportunity, and I approached it the way I approach everything, which is extremely professionally, and I got good at it, and we had a very successful company. Everybody was happy, including the men at home and including the women who all became millionaires. I've turned more women into millionaires than I've turned men into millionaires. But
maybe that's the reason they're coming after you, because they feel in that a contradiction, and they're not buying your story, right? They don't believe it. They're like, oh, this is an act. He's not genuine. He's actually out for himself. And so that's the place that they want to get you, because there's definitely an energy out there. They want to get you.
Oh, no, they're out to get me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the reason why, though.
Well, depends who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the Matrix. I understand why and you've talked about that a lot in podcasts. We could talk about that, because you are speaking a lot of truth, and you're confronting all the lies in the culture, and you're speaking against the most powerful forces in the world. But individual women, let's say, they're going to look at what you're doing, a lot of them, and a lot of them, they're completely insane, and they're looking at these little clips, and they're distorted in their own feminism, and maybe unconsciously they can't reconcile to the fact that they would actually want a man like you. I think that's a lot of what's going on. It's like projection.
I'd agree with that.
Nevertheless, there is an energy that's like they want to get you. They want you to be punished. In some way. Yeah. And so, like, how do you, like, what do you do with that? How do you deal with that? Like, how do you answer to that? Like, if that woman was sitting here, what do you say to her?
Yeah, I would say that her argument, to a degree, is a logic fail. Let's take it away from webcamming.
It's a female. Logic.
Don't be a misogynist.
There's your blind spot right there.
Don't be a misogynist. But that's like saying because...
Well, it's not misogyny.
No, of course. But that's like saying because you've ever eaten a steak, you don't care about animals. Right. Effectively. Right. What she's saying is because he had a business in which some man may have felt exploited at some point, he doesn't care about humanity, which is a logic fail.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's not valid. What I have found in my experience often is that many women who seem to dislike me after they meet me don't dislike me. Mm-hmm. I think the energy which they find repulsive over a screen or affects them emotionally over a screen, they end up liking in person. I think hate and love are actually very close to each other. And I've had women who scream how much they hate me at the screen, and then they meet me and they're literally in love with me.
Well, you're a nice guy.
Of course.